Hello, and thank you for calling the Higher Self Hotline, your direct line to the divine. You've been led here by your inner knowing, and you've arrived right on cue. I'm your host, Zoe Greco, and together we'll make the ethereal earthly, helping you consciously embody your spiritual knowing and most authentic self. Please listen carefully to the following options. To discover how to fulfill your soul's purpose, press 1. To unlock infinite abundance in life, love, and career, press 2. To heal your mind, body, and spirit, press 3. To speak with your personal spirit guides, press 0. Please hold while we connect you to your highest timeline. Hi friends! Just dropping in to let you know that my October and November schedule for client sessions is now open. If you've been feeling the call to shift into deeper alignment, authenticity, abundance, and activation, this isn't just your sign, but this is an invitation from my higher self to yours. As my personal token of gratitude for your loyal listenership, I'm sharing a secret code created only for my podcast community because you are my true soul family and the people that I am genuinely born to serve. There is something special between us, a resonance that you already feel if you find yourself coming back week after week. And I want to acknowledge and honor that connection. And I'm hoping that you'll use this code as your permission slip to invest in yourself and in this experience. Head to zoegreco.com to book your session and enter higher self at checkout to save 10%. I would be deeply honored to walk with you, and I can't wait to see you in session. Hello, divine darlings, and welcome back to the Higher Self Hotline. I'm your host, Zoe Greco. Thank you so much for joining me today. And today is our October installment of Let Me Ask My Psychic. And as usual, we are going to get into all the good things. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I've been up to for the last month. I'm going to talk about the collective numerology for this month, and I'm going to answer 2 listener questions directly from you. And just as a reminder, if you don't know where to be submitting those questions, please send them to zoegreco.com/hotline. Just go ahead and go to zoegreco.com/hotline, and that is where you're going to be able to submit your listener letters and questions. So if there's anything that you want me to answer for you here on the show, that is where I will be able to check those submissions and go through them myself and pick the ones that feel most resonant. So without further ado, let's get into it. I have to be honest and say that for today's episode, I definitely wouldn't say dread is not the right word, but I've been nervous about sitting down to record this episode because I don't feel like I have that much to say personally. I've still been really like eyeballs deep in the mentorship that I signed up for. It's a year-long program, so you're definitely going to continue to hear about it. But there are pieces of myself that have been revealing themselves to me over this last month where I'm realizing the obstructions, the blocks, the obstacles that are preventing me from connecting to my highest level of leadership, but also to the highest expression of my purpose. And I'm so grateful for the space that I'm in. It's such a creative sandbox to kind of uncover what is misaligned for me. And as someone who is quite frankly, like addicted. Like I would say I'm addicted to personal development, not just my own, but the personal development of others. Like it's my favorite thing to sit around and talk about and explore. Like when I go out to dinner with my friends, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk to them about like, what are you navigating personally right now? What are you experiencing, in your own personal world? Like what's coming up for you? It's the thing that I love the most. And so having a container to not have to hold space for others to do that, but actually have the space to do that myself has been so game-changing for me. And I'm already getting so much more clear on the way that the work that I do is going to change shape and take a new direction. Hopefully as early as January. I have this very strong sense that by January, my offering is going to look very different. And I do think that we're going to host the Intuition Activation Mentorship one last time. I know I've said that before, but to be completely honest and candid with you and transparent, this will be the last time that I host that program live. And then after that, I'm looking at hosting and holding a container of my own. And I'm not yet ready to share exactly what that's going to look like, but I do have my own ideas and ruminations. And there are things that I'm even thinking about taking classes and certifications on. Like there are things that I'm feeling excited to learn, to elevate, to create more nuance within so that the offering is as profound as it can possibly be, as transformative as it can possibly be for others. And all of that is just starting to feel really tangible and really exciting. And since in September, I found myself in my personal peak, just as you all did, of my personal year, my month 7 and my year 7. I think that's why I don't have as much to discuss and talk about. Also, full transparency, I started my cycle today. And so I'm just a little bit low energy. But the month of September was weird. It was really fucking weird. And because of everything that was happening personally and like collectively, as well as the general energy of 7, which is quite reclusive, it was a very interesting month. And as you guys know, I do record these a little bit ahead of time. So it is still September for me, which I think is why the energy is so like I'm feeling a little bit like low energy, because 7 is naturally insular, singular, reclusive, hermiting. And I do feel like I'm in a little bit of a shell right now, but not in a bad way. I don't feel like I'm hiding from anything or like I need to protect myself from anything. That's not really the vibe that is coming through for me. It's more like being in a true restful state of receptivity. Like I'm not as focused on pouring out right now as I am on letting clarity, evolution, ease, understanding flow into me and into my energy. So I'm definitely in like a more receptive state versus, an outpouring state, which I think is why it felt a little bit nerve-wracking or daunting for me to come forward this month and like talk about what I'm moving through, because it's almost like I don't have the words and I don't have the energy. Like I'm just holding that a little bit inside myself right now. Come next month, like I think you guys are going to hear a totally different version of me, to be completely honest. But right now, this is the state that I'm in, and I'm, doing a lot of exposure therapy right now for myself, pushing myself through my own limiting beliefs and understanding which of those beliefs can't come with me into this deeper, more transformative, more intimate, more personal, more like close iteration of what I'm looking at creating. And I'm having a really good time with that, actually. And I wish that there was more that I felt like I could say about it or more that I could share right now. And I know there will be the time when I am, but it is so like thrilling and exciting to me. I'm having the best time. And there's so much about that I wish I could share. And I just know that right now is not the season to speak it out because the words aren't quite there. And rather than like pushing myself to like do some sort of like whatever, like I'm sure there's so many people that would think and would tell me that I need to already be marketing what I'm creating, and I need to be talking about it and getting you guys excited about it. And the truth is that is not the path that I'm taking in the work that I'm doing anymore. I am not allowing myself to be so concerned about making it for everyone. Instead, I'm really concerned about making it for the right people. And so when it is time to speak it out and it is time to share what it is and it is time to reveal more about that and what that looks like, I know that I'll have exactly the right words and it will land exactly perfectly right with the people who need to come into that container and have that experience with me. And until then, I'm comfortable where I am being in process, and I have truly been so stretched, and not in the way that I used to feel in the past. When I was stretched in the past, it felt like it was coming from this sense of like fear and urgency. And if I don't become more flexible and if I don't expand myself, then something terrible is going to happen. Or like I'm going to be a failure, or I have to face, even more layers of flaw inside of myself. And right now I'm just like, everything is unfolding exactly when it needs to, how it needs to. And I'm just in this deep sense of trust in that process. And I don't feel pressure. I feel joy. I feel excitement. What I am thinking of creating and what I'm already beginning to put together is so beautiful and it is so for you. Like, and that's the thing that I know to be true. I don't even need to talk about it, because if it is truly in alignment for me and you are also in alignment with me and we resonate with each other, then it is in alignment for you. And you're going to feel that and you're going to know that as I speak it, as I share it, as it comes forward. You're just going to know. I'm not going to have to convince you. I'm not going to have to like paint this picture. Like, it is just truly for you because it is for me and we are for each other. And it also has been really interesting because as I'm giving myself more room to explore what kind of offering I want to put into this world versus what kind of offering I think the world needs, I'm discovering all sorts of personal obstructions that have been really detrimental to my forward motion. One of those being, and this makes me want to throw up. I don't even want to speak this out, but turns out I'm a martyr. Ew, gross. I'm a martyr. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to see that because I truly do have the best of intentions. Like, I've really discovered that within myself, I have this resistance to making my work inaccessible to anyone. And I know that sounds really great. Like, yeah, good. And that's the thing that's been confusing me, right? Like, I don't want it to be inaccessible. So why is that a bad thing? It's not a bad thing, but it's an unhelpful thing. It's an unhelpful thing because when you are talking generally to everyone, you're not speaking deeply to anyone, and you can't go deeply with anyone. And that's what I really want to be doing. Is I don't want to just be speaking in these like rudimentary terms or making everything super accessible to everyone, because that's not the deepest expression of my purpose. The deepest expression of my purpose is one in which I am doing really profoundly transformative work for the people who need that exact medicine and no one else. And that has been super, super hard for me to face. And this has actually come up for me this month because of all of the civil unrest that we've been witnessing. And if you follow me on socials, you'll see that I shared something about the murder of Charlie Kirk. And I'm sure by the time this episode comes out, no one is going to want to talk about this or hear about this anymore. But I do feel the need to share it in this moment as I'm speaking it. And I have to say that post was so terrifying for me to share, because not only am I a martyr, but I'm a people pleaser. And so basically what I've been doing is like, I want to save everyone. Ooh, save is a strong word. There you go. I used it. I want to help and heal everyone. And so I'm like, hey, everybody, I think I know the way to do it. Come with me. And I've been so focused on making that message palatable to everyone that, you know, speaking it in a way that everyone will like it. The people pleaser. So, right. So the martyr says, hey, everyone, I want to help us. I want to heal us. And the people pleaser says, and I'm going to tell you that in a way that you're going to like, when in reality, neither one of those things is my responsibility. It's not my responsibility to heal everybody. And it's not my responsibility to speak that in a way that it will appeal to everyone. And so the first way that I challenged myself in that behavior was posting about the murder of Charlie Kirk and where I stand on that. And what I said was, I will never condone violence, but I will never mourn a Christian nationalist, white supremacist, racist, misogynist, bigot ever. I won't do that. And I do think that perhaps even in death, he is more dangerous than he was in life, because of the way that we're seeing his name be used. And as soon as I hit send and like posted that on Threads and then shared it to Instagram, I broke down in tears. It was our anniversary. Ethan and I were at a spa actually celebrating our anniversary. And I broke down in tears, and he was so there for me and so supportive, and reminded me that like I'm safe and nothing bad is going to happen to me if I like speak my mind and share it out and like share where I'm truly at with things. And that's really like what the whole month has looked like, is me discovering where I'm obstructed and then actively choosing to move through that and to realize the places that martyrdom and people pleasing do not make a strong leader. They just don't. And they don't make a strong practitioner. And in my effort to try and be there for everyone, I am really not being deeply of service to anyone, including myself, and perhaps especially myself. And so I'm really working on changing all of those like layers of illusion and limiting belief that I can't take with me into this new offering, while also on the other hand, addressing like the pragmatics of what that offering is, who it's for, and what it looks like. And to be completely honest with you, both parts of it are really fun. I actually love creating this container, and I love diving into the layers of me that need to be changed. And I was telling some friends last night at dinner. So as you guys know, at this point, I've talked about it a million times. I'm an escape room enthusiast. I've done over 200 rooms. I'm like obsessed. We travel to do them. And this whole process has felt like being in an escape room and I'm the puzzle, and I'm having the best fucking time because I actually really like myself and I like working with and on myself. I'm a good partner to myself. I show up and I do the work, and like I participate, and like I'm nice and like I'm fun to be around. So like that's really fun. I'm enjoying the other people that are in this container space with me in the mentorship that I'm in as a recipient. And that's really fun. I'm having so much fun designing exactly what I want to create and put into this world. That has been so much fun. So underneath it, underneath what can sometimes feel like hard work or like really, deep exposure therapy, I'm having the best fucking time. And outside of that, Ethan got injured this month. He landed poorly on his ankle rock climbing and really hurt himself. And it has been so interesting. So right after we recorded the last episode, actually, that he was in, so he was already sick during that episode. And then shortly thereafter, as soon as he started to feel better, he got injured. And he's also going through some wildfire growth in his business right now. Like he created like a new offering that has absolutely just like taken off like crazy. And so he's expanding his team and, also dealing with illness and injury. And that has changed the vibe and the energy in our home so much. And, he was preparing for a rock climbing competition that last year when it came around, he had COVID, so he couldn't participate. This year he's injured and he's been working so hard. And so that's been really a bummer. And that's putting it very mildly. Watching him have to be so disappointed and push himself so hard to still hold so much responsibility while he's healing. And so then I've had to like pick up the pieces as a spouse, which is totally fine. But also like I'm kind of going through some stuff too, as I'm talking about. And so like between, those two, like between like his growth and my growth, there's like things that have been kind of falling through the cracks, and add on top of that, like injury and all sorts of things. And so trying to build a work-life balance, but also trying to establish a new work-life balance, because as more responsibility comes in, you have to find a way to balance that with new fun and rest and connection and, ways to plug into yourself. So I actually picked up a new hobby. A couple months ago, I got really into bedazzling things. I'm a collector of crybabies and other like blind box items. So sue me, I'm a blind box girly. I love a good blind box. And I saw someone selling bedazzled crybabies, and I was like, oh, I need to get in on that. So I started bedazzling my own crybabies, which turned into making these like bedazzled kind of like junk hair clips for my friends. So I'm like deep in the process of making junk hair clips for my friends for for the holidays that are coming up. And I'm having the best time being creative. Another personal, I can't believe I haven't brought this up yet. Another personal update. I am taking a break from long nail extensions. I've had long nail extensions for 5 years, and I now have short nails, and honestly finding them pretty chic, pretty cute, like kind of into it. I wish you could see them right now. Even on camera, I'm too far away. But if you hop over to my Instagram, I've been talking about them and I will continue to talk about them. And what it has allowed me to do is all the things that long nails prevented me from doing. So I'm back into my stringed instruments, my ukulele, my sitar, thinking about taking a pottery class. I toured a pottery studio last year and I was like so ready to get into pottery. And I couldn't give up my nails to go. I couldn't. And she was the sweetest, sweetest woman in the world. She was like, yeah, those just aren't really going to work for like throwing. And I was like, yeah, okay, totally. Never took them off. And so now it's like, okay, I have so many more avenues of creativity available to me just because of like one simple change that I made in my life. And it might sound so trivial and so stupid, but like if you are a nail girly, you get it. And I am a nail girly. I go every 3 weeks. I get the most intricate, insane art, like angels sitting on clouds, like bedazzled, intricate words. Like I have little tiny paintings on each of my 10 little fingers. And to go from something like that into something a little bit more simplistic, and also that makes my hands like look like baby hands. Like it's been an adjustment. But I am adjusting and I'm really enjoying what is coming through and the things that I'm able to step into and enjoy because of that change. So to be honest with you, I've been quite active, but I've been a little bit of a hermit crab, a little bit of just a recluse. And it's important during this season of my life for me to reserve some of my energy for myself, to be creative, to find ways to be, restful, to find ways to navigate unexpected things like Ethan's injury, to be able to have the energy to devote to my personal development, to be able to have the energy to devote to the work that I'm currently doing and the work that I'm preparing to do. I mean, your girl's got a lot on her plate and somehow she still manages to slay. So I'm enjoying every step of the process. I can't wait to continue to share more with you. And I think with that, it's time for us to get into our monthly numerology for October. As we do each month, it's time to explore the collective numerology of October together. October is a collective month 1 in our collective year 9. While this month is not nearly as intense as the previous 2, thank God, there is a sort of uncomfortable energy that we're going to continue to face, but it takes on a new shape. While it will feel less pressurized than the last several months, we are coming up on a bit of a mirage. We're standing at a strange intersection where it's part ending and part beginning. While the entirety of 2025 is like one giant reckoning and conclusion, this month offers us a glimmer of the new beginning that we will collectively step into next year. Next year will be a collective year 1, which is the beginning of a brand new 9-year cycle for humanity. Where a collective year 9 brings endings, release, and closure, a year 1 plants the seeds for what comes next. It's a year of initiation, innovation, independence, and bold new beginnings. So a collective month 1 is going to feel like a push to move forward. And while there is momentum, we're still carrying the weight of everything that's come undone and continuing to unravel for the rest of this year. The collective month 1 is hinting at all of the energy we finally will get to step into next year. But first, we have some unfinished business to resolve because the truth is we haven't fully arrived at the new chapter. We're still sorting through the last pages of the old one, making sure we don't carry anything misaligned into what we're building. So looking back for a moment, September showed us what's been broken and also placed a really intense magnifying glass and microscope over all the cracks in humanity. It exposed the very tenuous and fragile fault lines in our systems, our communities, and even ourselves. But unfortunately, we didn't come to conclusions yet, which means October isn't a resolution, even if it feels like one in the air, but it is a shift. It's a change in pace. It's a glimpse of what's possible when we plant new intentions from wisdom of what we've had to release. So you might feel the urge to start over, to take action finally, and only find that the pieces haven't fully come together yet. The resources aren't quite available. You're not as clear as you thought you were. And I definitely want to validate that is frustrating. And this is a collective shift, not just a personal one. So expect people around you to feel kind of rammy. We're all going to have a lot of kinetic energy that we'll want to put somewhere, but we're going to quickly realize that we don't have anywhere tangible to put it yet. But what we can do is set some intentions. That can feel a little challenging when it feels like the world is burning, and it is burning. And we are just soft souls trying to find our way in this chaos. So October, as a month one, is our moment to start thinking seriously about what comes after all of this decaying that's happening around us, even if we're not ready to build it yet. So this is the time to get clear on what you want to plant, because the seeds that you choose now will root in ways that will not be immediately visible to us. They will begin to grow next year. And what you name, what you choose, what you ask for is what will shape your experience in 2026. So ask yourself, what do I want to initiate? What kind of life am I willing to begin? What kind of world am I willing to help shape? What needs to exist that I'm willing to create? Choosing where to direct our energy and lock in can feel a little bit daunting. So I invite you to just start with what feels most alive for you personally. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to stop pretending that you don't know what you want. You do know what you want. You've just been waiting for permission. And this month, let's stop waiting and concealing our desires, and let's start choosing. We will see continued endings this month, and in truth, the rest of this year will continue to bring revelations and closures, losses and reckonings. But in the cracks between the endings, we're given the gift of initiation. So the month one reminds us that something new is trying to begin. The 9-year reminds us that the old must finally end. So don't be surprised if this month feels like a mixed bag. Some moments may feel energizing and inspired. Others may feel like you're being asked to release things that have held you together, and that is okay. That's what this moment is. It's a preparation for what is true and not what's convenient and familiar. This is your invitation to cast your vision, to feel the momentum before it fully arrives, and to let yourself want something more, even if you're not sure how to build it yet. And if you want to know how this month one reverberates inside of your personal numerology, make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter, checking our personalized monthly horoscopes. You can find those on Instagram as well. And it'll just help you understand the cycle that you're in as the collective shifts around you. We're going to drop the links for all of this in the show notes. But until then, I want to remind you, anything that feels like a false start this month is not a failure, even though we aren't really getting to move forward quite yet. Yet is a word we've used a lot today. This is a powerful, energetic window for you to use to dream your wildest dreams and plant seeds for their flourishing fulfillment. So with all of that said, I think it's time for us to move forward into the Let Me Ask My Psychic segment of this episode. So Mike, go ahead and drop that intro right here.
Feeling like something's missing in your life? Searching for clarity in the chaos? Unsure of your next move or just need some wise guidance? It's time for Let Me Ask My Psychic. Right here on the Higher Self Hotline, Zoe Greco is ready to dial into the divine and deliver some heavenly hints just for you. So why not give us a ring at 1-800-HIGH-ANGEL? Because who wouldn't want a little angelic advice?
Well, friends, if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, you may notice that I've changed clothes. That's because when we originally recorded this segment of the podcast, for some reason, the microphone got so messed up and the audio was essentially unusable. Our amazing audio engineer, Mike, really tried to salvage it and fix what he could, but unfortunately, it just would not have been pleasant for your beautiful little eardrums. So here I am, days and days later, and I'm going to answer once again the questions I previously answered. I'm a little bummed because I feel like I was really in the zone last time I did this, but I always believe that there's a divine reason for everything. And this is no exception. So I believe wholeheartedly and completely that Spirit plans to speak through me even more intentionally this time. I will say I selected these questions because I've noticed this theme showing up quite consistently in my personal work, the work that I'm doing with clients, the work that's showing up in the mentorship container that I'm a recipient in and a part of, and also in the collective of this space. And I want to speak to that for a second and say that when a theme arises with podcast listeners specifically, as well as my clients that I work with, I try very hard to take very intentional note of that, because the space that we're occupying here together is a microcosm. It is our own little pocket of reality. And if you find yourself coming back here week after week or year after year even, it's because there is a level of resonance between us. We are riding the same wave of frequency. We are existing in the same vibration. We are operating on the same timeline. And that means that we are having a shared experience. And I'm always so excited to find when it feels like there's a very strong current moving through our energetic experience, because it means that the energy, like the energy that I'm putting out into this world, is working. It's drawing in people that resonate with that vibration. And so it would be a disservice to our community for me not to take note of when these like specific themes show up for us to work through together. So the two questions that I've selected today are actually quite similar. And I, again, think that that's important because it suggests that as a collective, as like a little microcosm, we're going through something shared and something powerful. So I want to speak to that shared energy. So our first question comes from Morgan. She says, "Hey Zoe, I don't usually write into shows, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was supposed to send this." That means you were. "I found your podcast during a road trip this spring, and I ended up talking back to the episodes like you were in the car with me. My best friend jokes that you're my spiritual big sister, and honestly, that's how it feels. You've made me braver than I ever thought I could be. I'm in this weird place where I've shed so much of what wasn't working, friendships, an old career, even a relationship that didn't feel aligned, but I haven't stepped into the new life yet. It's like I'm standing in an empty hallway between two doors. Honestly, it's lonely. The people who got the old me aren't around anymore, and the people who will get the new me haven't shown up yet. Some days I wonder if I've made a huge mistake because at least the old life was familiar. How do you survive that middle space where you feel like you belong nowhere? Grateful for your light, Morgan." Morgan, thank you so much for this question. And this idea of belonging is really that was a really beautifully selected word that you chose. And I don't think it was an accident, because we actually create that false life and that false identity, that mask that you've already started to take off, because we want to experience belonging. We are in a certain environment, a family, a field of influence and energy that often we are either thrown into or select kind of unconsciously. And that field informs a lot of who we become in order to receive a sense of acceptance or belonging within that field or that sort of sphere of influence. Now that you've identified what wasn't aligned for you and have worked very hard to shed that, I hate to disappoint you, but I want to say that perhaps the work is not done. And this liminal space, you've described it as like an in-between, the middle space were your words, but I describe it as like this liminal space. This liminal space is such an imperatively important part of the process of becoming, because once you've sort of removed yourself from the feedback loops that keep you repeating patterns of falsehood, that keep you masking. So like the old job, the relationship, what have you, the friends. Once you've removed that from your life, you're in a space that feels very quiet. It's like being in like your own personal, private, like soundproof room. And yet, if you use this space accurately, it actually becomes an echo chamber. And that is extraordinarily important. Because when you allow yourself to truly sit in this liminal space and occupy it, even though it's extremely uncomfortable, the last thing we want to do is be in this liminal space. It's like we just want to get out of it. We want to get away from it. But if you allow yourself to truly occupy this liminal space and let your energy take it up as much as possible, the walls and the edges of that liminal space reverberate back to you the frequency that you are putting out. It's where you begin to hear who you actually are underneath the mask that you've been wearing, who you already are and who you've always been under that mask. And I will say, when I was going through this, The liminal space was really soupy doopy uncomfortable for me. I was like, no, thank you. I don't want to be here. And so I tried a different approach that I don't totally recommend, but I'm going to share it with you anyway, because it's informative to know what doesn't work as well as what does work. So the thing that I tried, which did have some positive effects, I will say, like it was supportive in the process, but it didn't get me my answers, was I tried to look back at the person that I was before my trauma occurred, before I felt like I needed to put on a mask to receive belonging or to be in resonance with others, before I changed the shape of myself. Who was I before that? And I look back at that self and that person. And for me, most of my like really damaging experiences occurred between the ages of, I would say, like 11 to 17, 18. And then, anything that happened from there was just a result of me being dysregulated. But most of my dysregulation occurred in those years. And when I think back to, okay, well, who was I before I was 11? As a 30-something-year-old person, it's not necessarily super helpful to think about who I was as an 11-year-old, but it also wasn't entirely unhelpful. I thought about what were the things that she enjoyed? What did she like? What made her laugh? What lit her up? What was she excited to be and become and explore in this world? And going back to that vibration and thinking like, okay, who was I excited to be? As a 10 and 11-year-old child, who was I looking forward to becoming? And what was already inside of me that spoke most strongly? So I kind of tapped into those aspects and tried to live through my inner child. And again, that wasn't my solution, but it was, a piece of the process that I found really informative, both in how it worked and didn't work for me. But that was how I first started to try and engage with my own energy without having to sit in the discomfort of the liminal space. But once I became willing to sit in that liminal space, and once I became willing to truly like take up as much room as I could in there, I started to really identify who I was. And this is where I was saying the work isn't quite done. What ended up happening was even more people left my life than I expected. Like I was like, oh, all the shedding's done. This feels so good. People started to just skadoodly do their way out of my field, because the more that I stepped into my vibration of truth and authenticity, which is extraordinarily magnetic. Remember, magnets are both forces of attraction and repulsion. And so the more strongly I occupied my own vibration, the more that it both attracted and repelled people. People who had been repelled by my inauthenticity came back around because they were like, I knew this was in you. And people that were comforted by my inauthenticity saw their way right out of there. So what I would say is that even though you might feel like you've done as much shedding as you possibly can, I want you to know that that's probably going to continue to happen. And I'm saying that because I care about you and I want to be honest with you. I don't want to sugarcoat this process. But that being said, you are in what I consider to be actually the most fun part of it. Being with yourself is a gift and a blessing. To truly come to know yourself is such a joy. And so the way to survive, the question that you asked, being in this liminal space, is to, again, take it up as much as possible so that you can hear what comes back to you. And that is going to look like an exploratory process. It's going to look like trying things on, both literally and metaphorically, to see how it fits and see how it feels. And instead of getting feedback from the outside world of, criticism or approval when you try things on, instead, you're going to receive the reverberation of your own voice coming back to you. Whew, I have chills actually as I'm talking about that. That is so incredibly important. It is so incredibly important. I cannot stress that enough. Allowing yourself to be in the liminal space and allowing yourself to be alone in the liminal space is an incredibly important part of this process, so that your voice is the one that's coming back to you, so that you're gaining your own approval, so that you're gaining a sense of belonging with yourself. From there, just to give you a little teaser of what's to come after this point, then you take that self and you put them back out into the world with others. And hopefully by that time, you feel strong and secure and comfortable enough in the self that you've discovered and the self that you know to not allow the feedback that you will then receive by being in the world to inform or shape you or cause you to once again mask. And you'll find that there are moments when you do, when you're like, not speaking your entire whole truth with your full chest and 10 toes, because you're practicing that. You're practicing that. And you will even start to practice that along the way in this liminal space. Because part of being in the liminal space and trying things on is being in the world, trying things, doing things, being around people. But hopefully when you are in specific spaces, trying things on, you're surrounded by people that are there for a similar reason. And that is how you begin to experience resonance. And resonance is also extremely informative. It lets you know, ooh, when I'm in this space doing this thing around these people, I feel good. And when they speak it back to me and they share something or they do something or they say something, it lights me up and it tells me more about what I want and where I'm going and what I'm doing. There's so much information in resonance and dissonance, but you have to be willing to try that on to find out. And the first step is really sitting in the liminal space, taking it up as much as possible, like taking up as much room as you can with your own vibration and letting it reverberate back to you what is true, real, and right for you. So Morgan, I'm wishing you the best of luck on that journey. And I hope that this answer has been clarifying, comforting, supportive, and resonant as you continue on your journey. So we're going to move on to our second question. And this one comes to us from Javier. He says, "Hi, Zoe. Your podcast is my Saturday ritual. I make coffee, put in my headphones, and it feels like I get to sit down with someone who sees the world the way I secretly do. You help me feel less crazy for wanting something different than everyone around me, and I can't thank you enough for all that you do." Before I share my question, a little bit of background. I left a job that was killing my spirit, and since then, it feels like my life has been one long domino effect. Financial stress, fights with people who don't understand, even health stuff flaring up. Part of me is terrified I've ruined my life. Another part of me feels more myself than I ever have. How do you know if all the chaos that follows a big decision is actually clearing the way forward, or if you just blew up your life for nothing? Thanks for everything you share, Javier. So as you can see, there's definitely a shared message between these two questions. And it was like, I feel like I've ruined my life. Like once everything starts to fall apart, I feel like I've begun to ruin my life. And the truth is you have. That's true. That's correct. You have ruined your life. You've ruined the life of the false self. You have broken the reality for that false identity. And therefore that false identity can no longer exist. There's no room for them anymore. There's no place for them to be. They don't get to be in charge. Now, the true you, the real you, is the one that is calling the shots. And again, just like I spoke about with Morgan and Morgan's question, what's occurring now is that once you've chosen truth and you've chosen to stand in your authentic identity, anything that is not a match to that is going to show up and make itself known so that it can also be removed. And at first, the chaos, as you described it, is actually your most beautiful, informative green flag that lets you know that you're doing the damn thing. You're doing the work. If things are falling apart, that is a direct response to the change in vibration that has occurred within you. And I love that you describe this as a domino effect, Javier, because that's exactly what it is. It begins with you. When you decide to change your mind, and we hear this all the time, but like, are you actually listening to that message? Like, do you understand listening, like out there, you guys listening right now, do you receive that when people say it? Because that is the truest shit that people are talking about. When you decide to change your mind, when you decide that you are allowing yourself to break through limiting beliefs into the belief that more than what you previously thought was possible is possible, your entire life changes very quickly in response to that. But unfortunately, the first thing that happens is the crumbling, and therefore we think we've done something wrong. We're like, oh shit, I didn't want to do this job anymore. I knew I needed to get myself out of, this environment, this situation, this identity, this purpose, or this like misuse of my purpose, misuse of my energy. But I didn't know that was going to change everything in my life. Yeah, it does. It does. Any change that we make reverberates out. It creates a ripple effect where once you remove something that is misaligned, all things that are misaligned start again to bring themselves forward to be seen, recognized, and known so that they also can be changed. And so I would love to invite you, Javier, to see the things that you're experiencing right now as information and like trail markers as things continue to not work, you know that you're going the right way. And eventually, the trail markers will start to look like things working in your favor. And there will be a point at which the trail markers are a mixed bag of like, this isn't working, this is working, this isn't working, this is working. And that is how you know which direction to keep moving in. That is how you know how to keep moving forward. This is actually such a beautiful thing that's occurring for you and happening for you. And it's happening for you, but it is also being created from you. And when we can take responsibility for the chaos that ensues from the internal changes that we decide to make, everything opens up, because we then realize just how much authority we have in our own life. This is where we actually begin to experience our power, recognizing that everything is falling apart because I allowed it to, because I decided to change my mind, change my beliefs, change what I think is possible for myself. And therefore I decided to change my life. And once I decided, it is so. Look how powerful I am, that once I make a decision, everything around me starts moving. That is a sign of your power. And once you can own that power and the authority that comes with that power, you then have the ability to use it intentionally to begin to create alignment versus misalignment. So right now, the power is creating misalignment. It's creating your tower moment, your personal moment of like letting everything crumble and fall apart. And as it does, you get to go through the rubble and decide what you want to take with you and what you want to leave behind. But what I will say is that anything you choose to take with you that's misaligned will keep making itself known. Anything that's not working, anything that doesn't belong there is going to kind of pick at you and bug you until you just can't deny it anymore. I can say that from personal experience around the work that I'm doing. There's a part of me that has known that being a psychic is just holding other people's power and letting them give it to me, and then just kind of giving it back to them in this way that says, here, like, you have permission to do this. But what I really want to be doing and what I plan to be doing in the future, starting basically now, is handing that power back to them as soon as they give it to me, versus holding it and trying to make that soft and easy for people. I'm just like, you know what? You gave this to me just now. I'm going to hand it right back to you. What do you want to do? How do you want to move forward? And then how can we empower you to make those steps and take those steps? And you're already doing that, Javier. You're already enabling and enacting these changes in your life in such profound ways, to the point that it feels like chaos. And I want to remind you again, that is a good thing. Congratulations. The chaos is the sign that it's working. And the more that you stand in the truth of that more aligned and more real, honest, sincere, genuine, authentic vibration of who you are, things will continue to be repelled and they will be called in. And the calling in phase is really fun. It feels really good because you're getting versus just giving up versus shedding. This part that you're in can feel really uncomfortable because we're getting naked. Like, we're taking our clothes off. We're taking our identity off. That does feel chaotic, and it feels bizarre and foreign to be like proverbially or like metaphorically naked when everyone else around you is wearing clothes and masks. But you've taken your mask off and you're even starting to take off the costume of that self, because it's a costume. So a loving celebration, Javier, that everything is actually working out for you. Everything is happening for you and in your favor. And I think it's important for you to hear that you didn't do this for nothing. You are already in a very powerful process of change. And I do want to speak actually quite quickly to, you mentioned that there were health things, like health issues flaring up. And I want to just say, our bodies have to learn to hold the new vibration that we are choosing to embody, right? Like, if we're going to embody something, we need to call that energy into ourselves, into our body. And so your body, your physical vessel, does experience like what feels and looks like illness as it tries to ascend through layers of frequency. As we ascend our consciousness, as we raise our vibration and raise our consciousness into the high vibrational frequency of higher self, of truth, of authenticity. As you move through those layers of vibration and frequency, it's frictional. It feels uncomfortable. It's like you're moving through layers of sandpaper, because frequency moves like left to right. It moves in like long ways, like horizontally, and you are ascending vertically. So imagine you're moving through upward things that are moving horizontally, that there's friction that's created in that process. And your body has to learn how to handle that. I actually just had a conversation with my mentor about this very thing, because he's someone that prepares his body for those changes. I'm someone that goes, oh, my body feels weird, I must be changing. I'm a responder. And he's more of a planner, which I think, I share that so that either way, there's no right way to move through this. There's just what feels right and true for you. I learn through experience. I'm not one that like prepares ahead of time. I live it. And that's how I know it. And right now you are living it. So I invite you to allow your body the time and the space that it needs also to adjust to the changes that you're making. And I'm proud for you, Javier. I think you're doing a great job. And I hope that this answer has been clarifying, resonant, supportive, and comforting as you continue on the journey that you're navigating. And I want to just lovingly remind any listeners out there, if you want to submit your own question to be answered here on the podcast, you can submit that at zoegreco.com/hotline. And that is where I will receive your listener questions and submissions. So my friends, with that is the end of our episode. There you have it, blessed babes. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I would love if we could take a moment to send this week's subject, you, some love, sweetness, and positivity as you continue to rise and shine to new levels and layers of authenticity and selfhood. If you're interested in being on the podcast, send an email to podcast@zoegreco.com. Connect with me on all socials at @thezoegreco. And of course, I want to conclude by reminding you that you are important. You matter, and you are perfect exactly as you are. I love you. Your spirit guides love you, and the universe loves you. So until next time, keep answering the call of your higher self. Bye, friends.